suddenly would lose
All right,
track
guys.
of his thoughts and
Feeling her.
lose the
Dragon Ball
sentence and so
Persona.
on.
Still
I don't
same
think they
thing.
wanted any more of that because I think there was a concern
carrying
that the
on.
public might look
And
at
a
that
long
and say, "Gee, that guy's
series
too old."
of
Yeah, but the
story
polls weren't telling them that the
stuff,
strategy
so.
wasn't working.
No,
so
the
they,
polls
it was their
Yeah.
No,
choice,
and there
and they
was no
stuck
reason
with
then
it.
to look at the polls and think this wasn't working. You're right, exactly.
But speaking of the polls, Kimberly Strassel tweets, for the record, the final mainstream Ohio polls, Quinnipiac had Biden up 4. Emerson, Biden up 1. Quinnipiac, again late, Biden up 5. With 94% in Ohio, Trump is up 8.
Right.
8! That's a 12-point swing.
Quinnipiac is having a bad night. Quinnipiac poll.
Your Florida,
No, but I mean, pretty much all the polls except Trafalgar
Des Moines was
and
right.
Des Moines Register was right.
Register, yeah.
But I mean, he's up 5, 6, 7, 8. At more than 8 points. That's a 12.
You know what's interesting about the Des Moines Register poll, because we've all learned through the long years of covering the Iowa caucuses that they do a great job out there on that poll. That's a very well-regarded poll and with good reason. And when it came out and said that, you know, Trump suddenly was up 7 after having been, you know, up slightly or even down in the number of those polls.
Got lambasted.
Well,
Democrats.
a lot of people thought it was off base or whatever, but I mean, I wonder if that shouldn't have been more of a wake-up call to the nation's pollsters than it was.
But what's interesting is that I think, you know, we talk some about some of these public polls, but all of these candidates and campaigns have their own internal polls. And from what I've heard from friends that work on a lot of those races, and I will include Iowa in this, that when that Seltzer poll came out on Saturday,
That's the Des Moines
Iowa,
Register.
the Des Moines Register poll, thank you, it was dead on with what the Republicans were seeing in their internal polls. So it could be that sometimes your internal poll might be a little bit better. I don't know. And you don't get to see those, and they always tell us that their polls are better.
It's not inconceivable.
But maybe in this case they were.
But you know, the thing about the Biden campaign is they had a lot of money. And when you have a lot of money, you can put a lot of money into polling. So we don't know about their internal polls. But what you do see in this moment is that if Minnesota goes for Biden, and we've said that, then you have Wisconsin right next to it. And you have, as we've been discussing, that pocket of votes still to be counted, not only the mail-in votes, but the votes that were still uncounted, but the actual people voting in
How
Detroit.
they learned that much?
So in all these cases, it would look like there's an opportunity there in Biden's favor. But the key here, to my mind, is the president coming out. You know, here we are in the wee hours of Wednesday morning, and what he has to say about this, because all the polling now, it's in the history books. I think now we're into the period where we are anticipating litigation and exactly how you go about properly counting the votes and people contesting votes. And I just hope things don't get ugly.
Yeah, I mean, there's potential that it could be in more than one state as well, which is kind of a terrifying thought. As we look ahead.
I can also tell you that this is the worst nightmare of those 9 justices on the Supreme Court. That I talked to a few of the justices after 2000, and they were very unhappy that they were put in that position. Now, none of them regretted the vote they had taken, given that. The Republicans all thought that they should stop the recount. The Democrats all thought they should continue it. But one of the things John Roberts, as chief, has tried to do is to keep the Supreme Court as out of the politics business as possible. You've sometimes seen him make decisions like on Obamacare that have given conservatives heartburn, and some people have thought he was doing it to try to keep the court out of the political fray.
But President Trump would argue that by extending Pennsylvania's deadline, they are not
Well,
getting out of the political fray.
They would say, but in his ruling, he said, I'm deferring to the state authorities on that. My only point is, it may be forced on them, and they may have to make that decision. But they don't want to do that. I promise you, none of those 9 justices wants to sit there and basically decide who the next president is. And with the litigation you're talking about, Martha, that is possible.
Martha, Twitter has now taken a stab at explaining himself about the warning that it put on President Trump's tweet about the election.
Which is very 2020.
Yes, isn't it, though? This comes from accompanied by a statement of their civic integrity policy. Quote, we placed a warning on a tweet from Donald Trump for making potentially misleading claim about the election. This action is in line with our civic integrity policy.
Go tell them to come on
This has
down.
really reached a kind of a stage of absurdity because anybody who's covered political campaigns over a long period of time knows that they are full of statements on both sides that are arguably true and arguably false. And they're filled with exaggerations and dire threats and pointing with pride and viewing with great alarm, and it's all grossly overstated. It always has been, and that's the rough and tumble of politics. And when you've got this
Look who's here.
this social media outlet which is deciding it's going to be careful about potentially misleading claims. I mean, there's
and it's
no
a claim
end.
that's about to be made to the entire country, and it's in
live on
the
television.
public domain
Really, is
anyway.
Nevada
So
leaning Trump right now?
It certainly defeats the claim
Yeah,
that
okay,
they are an
that's
open
very
platform
well,
and not
he went to
and not a
Nevada.
publication which they are editing.
Yes.
We have a call to make here. The Fox News Decision Desk now can call that former Vice President Joe Biden will win the Nebraska 2nd District. That, again, is one of two states, Nebraska and Maine, that pulls out the one district, so one electoral vote. President Trump winning the rest of the votes in Nebraska, but one electoral vote will go to Joe Biden.
I'm looking at the
Maine,
updated
that district
map
has
right
not
now.
been called yet, but we were told by Arne Michigan that President Trump is up in Maine. That's one electoral vote, but guess what?
Still up in
It
Michigan
all
by
adds
like
up.
9%.
One can make a difference.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to check around the horn about all the states that are still yet to be called as the race to 270 and the race for the White House continues at 1:18
Still up by
a.m.
6% in Georgia.
Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you.
Download the Pray.com app today.
There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness to bear witness, the light. The next day John seeth Jesus coming unto him, and saith, Behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world.
It's Blue Diamond, everyone's favorite fry pan. The only non-stick fry pan infused with millions of diamonds. So non-stick it's like cooking on air. Absolutely nothing sticks to Blue Diamond. It's the strongest pan you'll ever own. Its finish lasts 10 times longer. Blue Diamond is dishwasher safe and toxin free.
This is the strongest pan I've ever owned. Blue Diamond lets me go from the stove top to the oven, and it's even broiler safe. I love to cook all my family recipes with Blue Diamond.
Get Blue Diamond, everyone's favorite fry pan. Available at these fine stores.
Couldn't have you suspect a catchy.
Your hustle looks different these days. One thing you can count on is University of Maryland Global Campus. We've been a pioneer in online learning for more than 20 years, offering an affordable, accredited education, courses available 100% online, and no-cost digital course materials. You're made of hustle, and UMGC is made for you and here for you. Apply now at umgc.edu.
One
of my favorite supplements is Cunol Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Unlike regular turmeric supplements, Cunol's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric. Cunol's the turmeric brand
Was
I
that supposed to be
trust.
a joke?
Hey, Tony, what you doing?
I am just reviewing some of Tubi's best plays.
Tubi, huh?
They got a huge offensive line. Tubi has such a deep bench of free movies and television shows.
He said something
It's always
just
fun to
now
play.
as well.
Tubi, download that on all your favorite devices. Investors, the best hedge is hard assets with low risk and high returns, including steady cash flow. The NRIA Prime Realty Fund pays a 10% monthly distribution plus targeted returns to 21%. Our fund is pro-growth with $1 billion
And
in
there
construction
Nevada
development
goes back
backing.
to Biden.
The Fed has
Not
plummeted
surprising,
interest
yeah,
rates,
Nevada
so hedge against
probably
inflation and
does
receive our free
end up
reports.
going
Flow with the Fed.
Democrat, I would think.
210-2727.
Though it is technically a swing state.
Welcome back. Democracy 2020, our election coverage. Take a look at these states we have yet to call.
Oh, am I
And
mistaken?
they are close.
I thought I heard something
You've
about
got
delicious pancakes.
Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, It's not on there, but we haven't called it yet either. Michigan and Wisconsin. They are very, very tight. And the ones in yellow we have yet to call. 238 to 213. Again, the magic number is 270 to win the White House.
The White House is feeling very good about Georgia and about North Carolina. They're not feeling so great about Arizona. They feel that was called too early. The governor of Arizona is saying that there's still 900,000 votes that are not counted in Maricopa County, and they feel like they're going to get a good chunk of those. We've heard the explanation from our decision team on why they made that decision, but it is clear that there's a lot of consternation on the Trump campaign side about the way that this is rolling out tonight.
And Martha McSally has refused to concede in Arizona. So let's bring in Darren Shaw, part of our decision desk, Republican pollster.
Really doing this again?
Darren, let's just bounce around. First of all, let's start where we did with Arnon. He said he was 100%, and all you guys were on board with Arizona. When you called it, how you called it. Just reliving that.
Well, I appreciate Arnon's effort to get T-statistic trending on Twitter. The reality is that the estimates we've heard from the White House, and we have heard them, is that the president needs to get about 61% out of the remaining vote. We think that's right. That estimate is actually pretty consistent with what we're seeing. However, our estimates are that he's on line to get about 44-45% out of the remaining vote, which leaves him well short of what he needs. And so when Arnon talks about 100% confidence, I think our standard is a 1 in 400 probability that the call will be wrong. And we've actually raised that in this instance to, I think, about 1 in 1,200.
All right, so where are you on Georgia? I mean, if we were close on Georgia, it seems like it would be T-something by now.
Well, I'll sort of spare you all, even though we're in the witching hour of the T-statistic. But right now, the president's in pretty good shape in Georgia, but there's a big chunk of vote outstanding in Atlanta and in suburban Atlanta, in the county sort of surrounding Atlanta proper. And our estimates are that it's going to narrow. And we've had some experience on the decision team with late vote coming in from these areas in Georgia. So we think it's going to tighten. If you had to put money on it, I think the president probably retains an edge in Georgia, but we're not comfortable right now. If Arnon is talking about 100% certainty, we're not near that right now. So, unfortunately, I know everybody wants resolution, but I think we're going to be waiting a while on Georgia.
Overnight?
It's possible. You never know. One of the interesting things tonight, Brett and Martha, is that the pattern of counting has really changed. It influences what your viewers are seeing. It influences what we're seeing from the decision desk point of view. And the flow has been uneven in different states. We were sort of expecting tranches to come in that were pro-Biden, and sometimes they did, but sometimes, instead they would release the election day vote a little early, and that would skew pro-Trump. And so we're dealing with that. You saw that in Virginia, where, for 50%, 60% of the vote, the president was actually ahead. And then in the end, it went the way we thought it would. But we're dealing with that situation now in Wisconsin and in Michigan, where the early vote has been pretty much the president's vote. We expect Biden's vote to come in. The question is it enough to make up, the deficit that Biden faces right now?
Well, let's talk about North Carolina and also Michigan. Pulling up North Carolina first, and then we'll go to Michigan. Arnon, your thoughts on that, and when you might be able to call North Carolina?
Yeah, in Carolina, the president retains a slight lead. We're adhering to our not only traditional standards about levels of certainty, but we're also keyed in on things like there's no automatic recount, but there are provisions for recount. There are provisional ballots that are sort of in play, and so there's both the raw number, and then when the raw number separating the candidates isn't very great, all these other factors come in. So we're being pretty conservative with respect to those calls. The president's position in North Carolina is pretty strong right now, but we're not comfortable calling it. And the other state I believe you asked about was Wisconsin?
Michigan.
Michigan, again, we expect a lot of the vote to be outstanding. And in fact, they've sort of let us know that it probably won't be until around noon on Wednesday until they hit, a very considerable portion of the vote. There's not going to be that much outstanding. We're not sure when they get to that point tomorrow morning that there's going to be enough difference separating the candidates that we're even comfortable calling it then. Trump has been surprisingly strong in these upper Midwest states, and that's evident in the votes that you guys are looking at right now. We expect the mail-in votes and the votes that are counted after the fact, the ballots that are opened that were mailed in a few days ago or a few weeks ago, to skew heavily Biden. So the question is it enough? And we're not sure we're going to have enough difference, enough daylight between the candidates to make a call, not only tonight, but maybe even into tomorrow.
So wait a second. Now you're saying Georgia is probably not tonight. Michigan is probably not tonight. Wisconsin's not tonight?
I think there's a good chance that that's where we're sitting.
And Pennsylvania is not tonight.
Pennsylvania is strongly signaled, both before and then during the counting, that they're not going to have enough of the vote counted so that we can accurately classify what's going on there.
And North Carolina's not tonight?
North Carolina's counted a lot of their votes. It's possible we'll make a call on North Carolina tonight.
I should not say tonight. I should say this morning.
This morning. Yeah, no, that's good. And actually, I should be careful because this morning runs all the way up till noon tomorrow. So, noon today, sorry.
Right, but I mean, you guys are in touch with these folks about their counting. It's possible that we're looking at 5 states.
It's possible. I think that's right. And then you recall also that Nevada is still out there, and they've only begun to count. Nevada tends to count their vote pretty quickly, but yes, that's the situation we're in. And remember, this is a function of, in some ways, the pandemic and the adjustments in the voting rules and regulations that have occurred in light of the pandemic. A bulked-up mail-in program means that these election administrators are, by state law, in many instances, not able to count these until election day or sometimes beyond, as mail-in ballots come into their possession. So that's all factoring in. Close elections, right, plus significant mail-in votes and slightly different election laws create the potential for this. And we thought this might be the case, and in fact, I think it's playing out right in front of our eyes.
Is there anything that has surprised you so far tonight, Darren?
Well, it's interesting. We were discussing this in the decision room. I mean, it looked like heading into this night that the president needed to run the table in 5 or 6 states where he was kind of trailing a little bit in the polls, right? So, you're, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, et cetera, right? Ohio, et cetera, the states we've been talking about. And he's managed to hold most of those. We think he's not going to win in Arizona, and he may hold on in Georgia, but those states are sort of out there. If he loses those states, he's in a tough position. Pennsylvania obviously continues to be decisive. I think Georgia still surprises me a little bit, given what else has happened, that Georgia is still a possibility for Biden. And Arizona basically ended up exactly where it was polling. So, those states, I think, could be the president's undoing ultimately. But as I said, we got a long way to go. And I still think Pennsylvania, in a lot of ways, is gonna settle this thing.
Because both of them could get over the hump, you're saying, with Pennsylvania.
Yeah, there's a hackneyed phrase, right? You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
Well, I think for both candidates, yeah, we're saying there's a chance.
Well, Darren Shaw, we appreciate your time. Usually every time somebody comes to the decision desk, you guys have a call. So get back in there.
Yeah, hopefully they've called it by the time I get back there.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the time. We love digesting all of those numbers. Back with the panel. Chris, your thoughts on what was said?
Well, there is some news, and that is that the Philadelphia election commissioners have now said that they're going to have no update until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
No, this morning.
Yes, this morning, sorry. And so, we're not going to have a Pennsylvania answer until well into tomorrow, if even then. I mean, we're not going to get it tonight. There's no chance of that.
By the way, you guys can't leave.
I was just going to say.
Until we have a result. But
confident you could do it?
I've seen that show.
Here in Gwinnett County is that a lot of these late ballots perhaps were cast same day, and that might have benefited Trump a little bit more because he's doing better with the same day ballot. So again, 236,000 votes. The big outstanding pieces of the puzzle here.
As a result, we emerged victorious.
Still Fulton County, where Atlanta is, and still DeKalb County, overwhelmingly Biden, and you've got a ton of votes there as well. So DeKalb, Fulton, I think, really becoming the ballgame here in Georgia.
DeKalb, not even 40% in and processed yet. Rachel, the word from our White House folks, the White House pool, is that this is going to be an East Room event, apparently, from the president within the next 30 minutes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but didn't we hear in advance of tonight that the president was going to be convening his sort of election night party, his watch party at the White House in the East Room, and that it was expected several hundred people indoors in D.C. in the middle of the pandemic, which is troubling because of the pandemic. Do we expect him to be speaking in front of a crowded room full of unmasked people who are going to be cheering and breathing in each other's faces?
I think there's every possibility that is the case. From what I understand, the gathering has encompassed parts of the East Room and State Dining Room there on the second floor. He's been upstairs in the residence, it is said, watching the returns, and so we'll get to see that.
It should be noted that the president telegraphed the fact that he was going to falsely claim victory while there was no responsible way to project the outcome of the race, while millions of legitimate votes were still being counted. We haven't heard that explicitly out of the president's mouth tonight, although we're expecting to hear that because of his tweets. But the president already has made demonstrably false claims about the
still freaked me out when I
President, you say, well, why haven't they called this state? Well, we haven't called the state because of what's missing. It's not what's in, it's what's missing. And so by missing, I mean counting. And again, you look at Wayne County, it's Detroit, it's the suburbs around Detroit, absolutely essential for the Democrats. We went through this 4 years ago. This was a major disappointment for the Clinton campaign. They
Considering what we were up against.
did not get as many votes as they wanted out of Wayne County, as many votes as they needed out of Wayne County. There's Joe Biden at 206,000, right? Remember, 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton got 519,000 votes. It wasn't enough for her then, but that just tells you they haven't counted the votes. And we know, again, in-person early voting, mail-in voting, election day voting, election officials in all of these states are overwhelmed. They've decided how to sequence their count. The count is going slowly, and so we're waiting. We got a lot of, clearly have a lot of votes still to be counted when you see those numbers so much lower than 4 years ago.
37% of the vote in Wayne County reporting so far. Lots of votes outstanding. Pamela Brown has got some new information about Michigan. What are you learning?
Yeah, that's right there in Wayne County in Detroit. 92,000 mail-in ballots still have not been counted yet. So we are expecting those ballots to be counted and have a better idea of what the total is by the morning. I know it's early morning right now, but a little bit later in the morning we expect to find out more about Detroit. Of course, that is a Democratic stronghold. And then you have Macomb County. This was a county that Trump flipped. We were told that 250,000 mail-in ballots are still outstanding to be counted. The number we're seeing in Macomb right now, that is mainly the day of election day voting that you're seeing right there on the screen. And so with Macomb, 250,000 are left to be counted there in Michigan. Then you have King County as well. We're told a big chunk of what's remaining in King County is mail-in ballots. So this is certainly keeping us in suspense.
Kent County is over here as well in the western part of the state. Well, Grand Rapids in the suburbs. Again, you see the president ahead right now at 66%. This is an area where Joe Biden thought they could make a run. It's more conservative in the western part of the state. But again, the Grand Rapids in the suburbs area 2020, you come back to 2016, it was close. It was close. And so one of the reasons the Democrats thought they've watched this across the country, the suburban revolt against the president, they thought they could do better here. Let's see. A 3-point race 4 years ago. Again, the president winning Kent County with 148,000. You come over here, he's at 130,000. So this one's not off as much, if you will, but we do think turnout is higher. So we wait for these votes here. To the point Pam made about coming back over here, and when I pull this back up in the east, we'll see the numbers stretch out again. You got 92,000 votes, if the early votes to be counted. If that's it in Wayne County, that's trouble for the Democrats in the sense that if you look at the vote count there, the question is that just the early votes or are there more votes? Wayne County is late a lot. If turnout's that much below 2016, that would raise serious questions. What happened there? So I think there's more to be heard about Wayne County, and there's often more questions for Wayne County. But let's come up here to Macomb County now. 250,000 votes in Macomb County. That's a big deal. The question is, this is a county, one of the places that Joe Biden said, I'm a better nominee than Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. In Macomb County, you pull it up here, and just let's bring it out so we can see it. Again, 47% of the vote in. If there's 250,000 votes still to be counted, well, that's a lot because the president's right there, 65 to 32. Now, the question is, if they're all early votes, how disproportionately Democratic are they? Because if you look now, 65% of the vote for the president, but we have a lot of votes to count. 152,000 won this 4 years ago. It took 224,000 to win this county. So if you've got 250,000 votes still to be counted here, again, that's interesting. The Democrats hope to swing this back to blue. The president has a pretty healthy lead right now, but if you have to count 250,000 votes, that's more than you have on the board right there. You got 220 something, 230, close to 230 when you add it all up. So what does that tell you? Again, we need to count the votes. We need to get to the finish line. And when we have a better sense of the total universe, so you have some here, and some here, we need to find out what's the total universe. Once you know the total universe, then you can figure out Joe Biden needs what percentage of the leftover votes.
We have another projection right now. CNN projects President Trump will win the state of Montana. Beats Biden in Montana. 3 electoral votes in Montana. Trump wins in Montana. Let's take a look at the map right now. 270 needed to win. Biden right now has 220 we've projected. Trump has 213. 270 once again the key number. Let's get a key race alert where things stand right now in Pennsylvania. 66% of the estimated vote is now in. Trump maintains a pretty significant lead, very impressive lead. Almost 700,000 vote lead over Biden right now in Pennsylvania. 696,000, 56.6% for Trump, 42% for Biden, 20 electoral votes. Pennsylvania, John, it's looking, at least right now, before we go to you, Pamela Brown, you're getting some more information about Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we're finding out just how many outstanding mail-in ballots are left to be counted there in Pennsylvania. To give you an idea, just in the southeast part of Pennsylvania, there are at least 646,302 mail-in ballots, and that is not including all of what's left to count there in southeast Pennsylvania. In Philadelphia, I'm told there's still around 300,000 ballots left to count there. Now, there is a press conference going on in Philadelphia. We hope to get an update soon, but that is a large amount left to be counted there, assuming that number has not changed since I was last told. That, of course, is a Democratic stronghold. That is where Democrats are focused on. And then overall in the state, I'm told by one official in Pennsylvania, it could be around a couple million mail-in ballots that they are still waiting to count. We know 9 counties aren't going to start counting until later on this morning, and then of course these larger counties, it's just going to take a while to find out what the results are because of those mail-in ballots that they just started processing the morning of the election. They just started opening up those ballots, and it takes a while to process these mail-in ballots. There are several steps to it, and that is why we are having to wait. That is why we are left at the edge of our seats as we look at Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's an important point. You know, John, 67% of the estimated vote is in, so 67% now. So what? 43%. It's increasing. There's still a lot of votes out there.
A lot of votes. And just a quick question for Pam. You say 646,302 in southeastern Pennsylvania. Does that include the 300,000 in Philadelphia, or is that a plus?
No, that does not. So this is what it includes. So it's including Allegheny, Bucks, Chester County, Delaware County, and Montgomery at least.
Still a lot of votes. 33%, I should say. 33% of the estimated votes still outstanding in Pennsylvania. So the Democrats cling on to some hope. We got another key race alert. Take a look at Nevada right now with 74% of the estimated vote. Biden has now taken the lead in Nevada by 52,000 votes or so. Biden is ahead of Trump 51.6% to 46.5%. Once again, 74% of the estimated vote in Nevada is in. Nevada has 6 electoral votes.
6. And if you look at this Nevada, the key for Democrats are 2 places. Number 1, number 2, number 3 is Clark County. That's Vegas. This is 72% of the vote, 73% of the vote. So this is the big one. You got to win here. 75% in, a 54 to 44, a 10-point race there, 388,000 votes. You go back in time. So it's about the same, 52. Joe Biden doing a little bit better there. You see the vote count a little bit behind Hillary Clinton's total here, but we're only at 75%. So we'll see if more votes come in there. That's the first thing you have to do in Nevada, is run it up in Clark County. And then you come up here in the northwest part of the state, Reno, Washoe County, up here, 52 to 45. That one says it's 80% plus. Let's just go back and take a look at the vote total. Joe Biden at 111 and change. Hillary Clinton at 97 4 years ago when she won it a little bit more narrowly. So again, that's filling in. That's 2016. You come back to 2020. You expect the president to win the rural parts of the state here, but that's filling in as you would expect it to. And again, the question is, would there be any takeaways, right? Could Trump flip any Clinton states? Can Biden flip any Trump states? Right now, we have the congressional districts flip. We have the possibility of Arizona. It looks like Nevada. We'll keep counting them, but it looks like Nevada's going to stay.
We got another key race alert right now. Look at it, it's narrowed. The Trump lead in Georgia, 91% of the estimated vote is in, 9% still outstanding. Trump's lead now has gone down a bit to 118,000 votes over Biden, 50.6% to 48.1%, 16 electoral votes at play in Georgia. So let's take a look at Georgia right now. Where's the outstanding votes in Georgia right now? 91% of the vote in. That means 9% still outstanding.
So you're looking to see, especially here, most of the votes are up here. So you come to DeKalb County, 79%, 80. Look at the margin for Joe Biden, right? So you're missing some votes here. That if you're Joe Biden, you're encouraged. Depending, you don't know where they are. Are they election votes today? Are they early votes? But the potential for Joe Biden to build here, the biggest county of them all, right here. This is very significant. Again, if you're Democrats, you don't have to give up hope. The math gets hard at some point, but you don't have to give up hope right now, because if you're at 72% in Fulton County, and you see the margin, 72% of the vote in, and you see the margins right there, Joe Biden at 289,000. If we go back 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton got 297,000. So Joe Biden's close to that, but that's the 100%. This is the key, the question. We anticipate turnout up. How much? How much? Because if the Democrats were going to do it in Georgia, which was always a tough hill to climb, you have to do it right here. You have to beat that Hillary Clinton vote total by a significant amount. If you're at 72% and you're Joe Biden, you're in reach of that. So you're going to watch that play out. Let's move over to Cobb County. 89% in here. This is a tighter county. It's a little bit more, but the Democrats running it up. So there's possibility of more votes there. Again, 210,000. You go back and look. Joe Biden well in excess of Hillary Clinton's total in this county now. The question is, can he build on it some more? So you keep looking around Metro Atlanta. You come down here. You're starting to move away a little bit. Douglas County up to 91%, but potentially some more votes there. So then you pull out and you take a look. Let's just check the other Democratic areas. You come over here.
Let me just interrupt for a moment, John, because go to Georgia as a whole, statewide as a whole right now, and let's say we take it down to 90% of the estimated vote reporting right now, because and let's see where those outstanding votes remain.
Well, let's see if we can figure it over. We know most of them are in Metro Atlanta, but let's see what we can see here as we go. That's 87% reporting or less. So as you come back in here, and you do it this way, you just see, run the math, or you can come at it from this point as well. No, that's not going to do it for us. So you see most of the votes that are missing are still in the Metro Atlanta region. I'm going to bring this over and blank it out. Doesn't want to go there. There we are. See, now you get in the map. Let me come out of it.
I made those troublesome opponents psychotic.
Can't get that to turn off.
Any trace of that scandal.
Well, we're going to have to wait to come back to that because it's stuck in the program right now. But you come out of it and you come out and see, oh, we're just going to have to wait. I'm going to have to reset this, Wolf, so you're going to have to wait a minute for me.
All right, let's take a quick break. As you fix that, we'll take a quick break.
All right, let's see.
It's because I sympathize with
for an expedited ruling on the merits of the case, that is, whether the state Supreme Court was allowed to change the rules the way they did and the way Jonathan just explained. And at that point, the court said,
calm, let's count the votes. This is my view is this is not the episode of a TV show. It would have been lovely to have known everything and shut it down in an ordinary programming hour, but this is too important. It's a big, complicated, disputatious country, but we have a process for this. We have a constitution. We have state laws. The president, of course, predictably tried to roll a grenade in the
confronted him about it.
Everything took so much time and energy I didn't have.
Well, I got that out
like on that
I know we're not anything too interesting right now.
Back kind of doing the balance. They had a bigger staff earlier, but they're rotating crews in, continuing the count. John,
who only act to preserve their own vested interests.
For good.
The general public has forsaken such political affairs.
This is Kate. She always wanted her smile to shine. Now she uses a capful of TheraBreath Healthy Smile Oral Rinse to give her the healthy, sparkly smile she always wanted. TheraBreath. It's a better mouthwash at Walmart, Target, and other fine stores.
Those who get in the way must be
Are you ready? All right, here we go. Hey, little girl. Get on out.
Up that resistance a little more.
Which is why I'm suspects. prosecute the targets that I
There's nothing outside the ordinary conventions of American history that says you have to know the winner by midnight on election night. It's just not there. And for many, many times in our history, this has taken some time. And it's the most vital decision we make together as a country. Remember Andrew Jackson claimed, was the first president really to claim, I am the direct representative of the American people. And this is our collective expression of the national will in terms of who should be ultimately in charge of our affairs. Isn't that worth a couple of days?
I'll let that point simmer and percolate and get picked up by our viewers fortunate enough to hear from a Pulitzer Prize winner at 1:46 a.m. John, thank you. And something less than Jacksonian to say about Steve Kornacki, who's concentrating on Nevada, pulled the lever, and at least 3 cherries worth of vote returns have come in suddenly and without warning. Is that the case, Steve?
Yeah, here we go. Let's get out here to the Silver State. And we said we're waiting on, well, Clark, we can show you. Again, this is a lot like we just saw in Maricopa County a while ago. We got about 3/4 of the vote. We get a lot of the absentee vote in here. Biden to that lead right now, 54-44. And in Reno, Washoe County, again, a similar situation, a lead here of close to 7 points for Biden. I think it's interesting to note this is probably, if you were trying to say, where does Biden want to be in Clark County, compare it to 2016. He wants to be double digits ahead of Hillary Clinton. So that's where he is right now. And in Washoe County, again, here's one where Clinton won by a point in 2016. Biden, at least right now, let's see if that moves a little bit, but Biden out a little bit more comfortably. These are probably places, when you look now what that did to the statewide vote, with 3/4 of the vote in, that leaves Joe Biden up by 50,000 votes at this point. Would need a pretty significant shift there to get Trump over the top on him there. One other I can show you that I was just looking at a minute ago, Georgia. Let me get this off the screen here. Georgia, we just got a major update, and I think you can see it if you're looking at the... Yeah, remember, we were looking not long ago at Trump up by over 300,000. It now sits at 118,000. What just happened here in Georgia? A big one just came in. Let me get this off the screen as well. A big one just came in. A lot of outstanding vote in DeKalb. We still have some to come there, but let's take a look here. You now got about 82,000 votes left. I think this was sitting at about 300,000 before. This is just overwhelmingly going for Joe Biden right here. This is why that statewide gap just closed so much. There is still vote being counted here. And again, whether it's the absentee vote or the same-day vote in DeKalb County, Biden is winning it. He appears to be winning it, either one of those by at least 70, with at least 70%. So I think you can expect in what still comes in DeKalb, it's going to be heavy for Biden. He's going to net tens of thousands of more votes out